All right, the time is now 5:07. Of course, as Wanye said, that cone continues to shift, but it could still shift in many other directions too, so we always just need to be careful.
Yeah, and it's not the impacts just in the cone, it's around the cone. The cone is tracking the center of the storm, and when you have a major hurricane weakening down to tropical storm status, it makes the impacts bigger because the energy goes out. But here's what we're talking about here in central Georgia. Wind going to be the biggest threat, gusts up to 45 miles an hour beginning tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow, even with the storm still down towards the south, the rain, we are forecasted to be on the edge of it with higher totals to the east and possible power outages because of the wind and the wet soil and how long that wind is going to last. So here is a look now at the radar. Got the satellite overlaid on top of it. Any clouds you see this morning, this is going to be the far northern edge of Ian now. And you can see the center of the storm down towards the south. It's down there approaching the Fort Myers area, but rain now in Orlando as you get over towards Cape Canaveral, down the coast as you get down towards West Palm, across the peninsula, and that is the eye that is going to come ashore here through the afternoon hours at Category 4 strength. So hurricane warnings in effect for a large part of Florida and up the coast. First, let's talk about Florida, for the Tampa area down towards Sarasota, all the way down to Naples and even a little further south inland. This includes Orlando, Disney World, closed today, closed tomorrow. And then once you get over towards the Atlantic coast, these become tropical storm warnings because the storm is expected to weaken as it crosses the peninsula. Let's talk about Georgia. Tropical storm warnings from the South Carolina coast through Charleston, Savannah, down towards Brunswick, Fernandina Beach, talking about a storm surge situation here of potentially several feet, especially the further south you are. Storm surge warning in effect there. Tropical storm watch in effect further inland. So here is the cone. This is updated as of 5 a.m. now, Category 4, going to make landfall here as a Category 4 across the Florida Peninsula, weakened down to tropical storm status. Now here's where things could get interesting. Notice the cone has it re-emerging over the Gulf of Mexico and making a second landfall there very close to Hilton Head or Savannah and then pulling towards the north. So if this happens, it wouldn't surprise me to actually see the storm pick up a few miles per hour. Say it goes from 50 to 60 once it's back over the open Atlantic, then pulling towards the north. Now, as Caitlin and Wanye were alluding to, in central Georgia, are we in the cone? Technically, no. But as I was saying, the wind field is going to be so big that we're still going to feel the impacts from it nonetheless. And look how good the models have come into agreement here. A pretty good agreement there on Savannah. So something that we're going to have to watch. Let's take a look at the individual models now. This is the GFS. Notice we're going to be right on the edge of the rain if this model has its way, pulling the center up the Savannah River there. So not rain, not as much of a threat out of here by Saturday evening. Let's take a look at the European model. Something similar, pulling it back over the open Atlantic. Notice how that white circle kind of grew a little bit. That's indicative of the storm getting a little bit stronger. There we are Friday afternoon, Friday evening, again on the edge of the rain, but still very windy here across central Georgia out of here Saturday night. Now here's what we're talking about in terms of the wind gusts beginning tomorrow. So this is tomorrow at 2 p.m. You're going to notice very windy conditions, especially the further south and east you are. As we play this forward, notice we get gusts of 40 miles an hour here. This is going to be Friday at about 8 p.m. Higher gusts as you get over towards Augusta and Savannah. All it takes is one little wobble to get these higher gusts further into central Georgia, and then that begins to pull away. Here's how this looks on the European model. Again, much of the same. Gusts up to about 30 miles an hour and then 40. That's that pink color there as we get into Friday afternoon and evening. Wouldn't surprise me to see a few gusts even higher than that. Rainfall totals, not as much of a concern anymore because of that eastward shift. Still could pick up, a fair amount of rain, especially the further east you are. That was the European, the GFS. Again, we are right on the edge here in central Georgia. So a lot of things to watch here as we head into the next few days. I do think this is going to be a bigger wind event than a bigger rain event. And if you had to compare it to any one storm, I would say Irma because of the track of the storm and the risk the wind poses. So here's the 7-day forecast and how this shapes up. 76 today, a fairly nice day. Nice tomorrow. It's just with the strong wind beginning, but then here comes the wind and rain into Friday, into the first part of the day on Saturday, and then we begin to clear out as we get into the latter part of the weekend. Coming back right after this.